All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Alchemy Podcast. Really looking forward to the episode today. Got Josh here, Senior Vice President of Sales at Vivint. Josh, I haven't seen you in 10 years. We worked together.
Yes.
For a little bit, right?
That was great.
On my way out.
Yeah.
You were coming up, and I don't think I've really hung out with you or seen you since then.
Yeah, this is great. It'll be fun to sit down and chat.
A lot's happened since then.
Yeah, you've gone a long way and accomplished great
so
things.
So have you.
Yeah.
So have you.
It's been good.
Yeah.
It's been very good.
And so I'm curious to dive into, because there's a lot I want to talk about today, because, you know, I always have so much love for Vivint. I mean, I don't have any ties to Vivint anymore. I work with a lot of people in door to door, in solar, and pest, and meat, and windows. But like, there's this like always this soft spot in my heart when I work with Vivint guys, because like Vivint is like where it all happened for me, and I have so much love. And so I'm really curious to dive into some of the Vivint days. And at the same time, I know that you've had quite a journey yourself. You know, you're like the big dog over there at Vivint now. Like you're running the sales department over there. But you didn't start there. Where did you start when you started at Vivint?
When I started at Vivint, or my career?
Yeah, like when you got into Vivint, what role did you start in?
So when I got recruited to Vivint, I was doing mergers and acquisitions. And I was traveling all over the country, working with big private equity banks, private equity and other banks to buy or sell companies they wanted to buy. So when our COO at that time, it's been almost 10 years that I came to Vivint, I didn't know what Vivint was. Yeah. I really didn't. And so I was like, what's Vivint? I didn't live in Utah. And he was like, you remember Apex? I was like, oh, at ASU, an Apex guy tried to recruit me. So yeah, I know what you guys are. And I'm like, I don't think I'm really interested. He's like, just think about it. And I happened to be going on vacation with my wife, sat on the beach, did some research, and just kind of read about the company, read about Todd Peterson. And I kind of sold myself on the business. I can't even tell you why.
Yeah.
And then I flew out here to Utah, met with Todd Peterson, Alex Dunn, Todd Santiago, Dave Jones, Doug Barnett.
Oh, geez.
And I just you could feel this entrepreneurial spirit. Like Vivint was a big company 10 years ago when I came to Vivint, but it had this still entrepreneurial feeling. And Todd Peterson, like at the heartbeat of the company, just drove this entrepreneurship that I loved. And I was just attracted to. And having consulted for lots of different companies, you can feel like the heart of a company when you go in and meet with people. That sounds weird, but you can. And Vivint felt different.
Yeah,
and
you can't fake energy.
No.
Like someone either has it or they don't have it. Like
Totally.
You can't fake the energy piece. And I look back at Vivint, like for me, it was 2013 to like 2016. There was like magical little window, because there's just like you walk in the building and it was like pulsating.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that was the time I came to Vivint. But so I just had that feeling, and I honestly, I didn't know what my job was when I got recruited to Vivint. I was telling like the firm I was with, they're like, you're making the biggest mistake of your life. I was told that by several partners at the firm. They're like, you're on track to be a partner here. Your career's set. Like, why would you mess this up? You've been the fastest to each of these levels that we've ever seen.
Yeah.
They thought it was crazy. Because then I was like, well, they're like, what's your job? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just going to go help sales. Like, that was literally what I thought I was going to do. And I think I was like a senior manager of sales something. I don't even remember the title. But like came because of that energy, as you describe it, that Vivint had. And knowing Todd Peterson, or just the interactions I had, I'm like, this guy is innovative. He's driving this company forward. You have like-minded individuals here that are all are passionate about what they do. And that's what attracted me to Vivint. And I just jumped in, feet first.
Yeah, and I want to talk about too, because one thing that I love asking guests about, and I'm like working in with myself, is like intuition. Like, how do you know, like, how do you describe, like, whether it's you decide you want to marry your wife, or you want to go work at this company, and sometimes it's like on paper, everyone said you were crazy.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, what are you doing? You're fast track at your current company. You're
Totally.
leaving. That's crazy. But you made the decision completely against logic to come over to Vivint.
Yeah.
So when you have like this, what do you want to call it? If, the still small voice, or, the universe, or whatever that is, like, how do you know, and how do you describe that feeling where it's like, yeah, this is the right thing to do, even though my brain and the logic says no? What is that feeling for you?
For this specifically, it's hard to describe, because I really still look back and I'm like, it was not the logical decision.
Yeah.
Like, I really had a great thing. with the firm I was with, and it was really good, but it's hard to describe. It was literally like the feeling Vivint had, the energy Vivint had, the innovative entrepreneurial spirit that Vivint had. That's I came and describing like, well, how do you make those decisions? It's really, you got your gut. You described this, still small voice, whatever that may be. There's for sure something that guides every person, and you got to listen to it. And I balance logic and reason with that a lot, and I think that's kind of what has helped me through my career. Is, I'm very analytical, and I'll put all the numbers down, pros and cons, and at the end of the day, it's really like what your gut tells you should do. And so that's how I balance it.
And I think it's just such an important conversation to talk about, because I think in majority of my life, I look back at my life and the big decisions I've made, logic said something else, but there's just this undeniable feeling or emotion or experience that's happening that guides you in a different way. And in my life, as I make more space for that guidance, my life, I feel, runs a lot smoother, because I'm not fighting with like the natural unfolding of life, whether it's God or the universe. And so it seems like you had kind of this moment on the beach, like, hey, I got to go do this. Yeah. So you jumped in. Did you have it? Were you scared? Did you have regrets? Were you like, shit, have I done the wrong thing? Or how was your initial experience into it?
I'm sure in the moment I did, I look back and I kind of just wonder, because I'm like, how did this all work? And it worked. But no, I don't recall like being super scared, because it just felt right. You had good people around you. And like back to your, like, how do you make these decisions? I think you've got to have a nucleus of people you can rely on that are not incentivized to pull you one way or another, that are just there for you. And I've always had good people to like bounce ideas off of and ask questions. And I think there were some core people at that time that I was able to ask those questions to.
And they were encouraging you to go.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't tell me I was stupid.
Yeah.
I had some people tell me I was stupid.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were.
Yeah. So you make the jump over to Vivint, and was this the Best Buy stuff? Were you doing Best Buy?
This was shortly before Best Buy.
Yeah. Best Buy was a disaster.
It was a disaster.
It was a disaster.
That was something I dodged.
Yeah.
Because that was like one of the first things. They're like, hey, we think this could be something we're going to have you work on. And I like did a couple meetings with it, and then it was quickly like, oh, somebody else is going to go do this, and we need you to actually go do this. So that was, there's kind of the hand of God, if you will, that guides you. But I dodged that one.
Yeah, I'll never forget. We were at Jordan Commons movie theater, and Vivint holds like this meeting, and we're doing like this meeting at the movie theater, and they're saying sales reps are going to go to Best Buy stores, and you're going to be in the store. And so I'm like, this is going to be a train wreck. This is not going to go well.
There were a lot of things that didn't go well, but was amazing. You still look back at it. I was talking to those involved just recently, and we sold 60,000 customers in Best Buy. So it was, the financial model didn't work, but we acquired 60,000 customers in 6 months in Best Buy. And that still is pretty, customer acquisition better than anybody else. That's hard to do. And so it was pretty amazing what we did. Financial model didn't pan out, but 60,000 customers in a short.
We learned a lot. We learned a lot of the time. And I will say this: there were a couple deals where I was knocking preseason after. I can't remember. I was in McAllen, Texas, and like, oh, we've seen you at Best Buy, and I'm like, yeah, close it up.
Heard that story all the time. Yeah.
So it ended up working out. But but as a business, you got to try things and fail. So you didn't do the Best Buy. So when you first got into Vivint, like, what was your initial projects?
Got all sorts of little things. Some of it was pay scales. We did a thing with Sprint. Do you remember that?
I do. I remember selling some Sprint phones.
We sold cell phones.
I sold some Sprint phones.
Yeah,
I did. I remember selling some.
Yep. Again, project that failed.
Yeah.
What
happened with that? Why didn't that one work out? I feel like that one would work.
I mean, at that time, Sprint's coverage just wasn't what they said it was. And so we're selling Vivint, which is a premium product, with Sprint, which their brand just wasn't
low-end product.
Yeah, lower-end product. So if it would, I think at that time, been Verizon, and you could save people money and bundle it, it would have worked. And then we tried to carry the cell phones with our technicians, and we lost a lot of cell phones. And
so the techs actually had the phone. Oh, they had the iPhones, and then they would lose the iPhones.
So we had phones in their trunks.
Yeah,
and that was a mistake. We should not have done that.
Yeah. So you did the Sprint thing. You did the pay scales, right? When did you feel like you had find your groove at Vivint?
I mean, when a couple years in, but I jumped in like I would do with a consulting project, and I'm just like, I'm going to evaluate where value is in business and figure out how can I bring value to this business. And the main reason back to like why I left what I was doing is I was in consulting. And in consulting, you go take an engagement or a project and a client, and you work on it for a few weeks, sometimes a couple months at most. and you do a lot of work on it, and you give your opinion and you leave. You don't actually do anything.
And it's done.
You're done. And you're like, hey, I put a lot of heart into this, and now I'm like, I'll never see this company again. And who knows if they'll do anything I told them to do. And so I wanted to go do it. That was like really what changed it. Now, it wasn't logical. It was more me saying, hey, I'm tired of like just telling people what to do. I want to go do it. But I came to Vivint saying, I'm going to just bring as much value as I can. Where can I add value? And I'm going to be worried about like getting compensated for that value after, but I'm going to go bring the value. I want to be compensated first. And I just leaned in anywhere I could. I worked close with Casey Baugh on whatever project he had or thought of, we would work on. And it was just like, my mindset was, I'm going to bring as much value as I can. And I quickly learned at Vivint how much value was in our Salesforce. I'm like, this is
the
like
lifeblood
special.
of the
This
company.
is the lifeblood. How do we enable sales? And I've always had this plan, or it's got to work for a sales rep. It's got to work for Vivint and the customer. We've got to balance all three of the interests of those parties equally. And if you can, it's magical sales. And that's been, really my unlock.
Yeah, I love that. It reminds me, I went to Tony Robbins' Business Mastery this summer with Casey, with Seba, and the big takeaway for me was a lot of times as a business owner, and this is advice I give to my coaching clients all the time, is we have this problem in life. And we're like, okay, how do I solve this problem? Whether it's relationships, whether it's business, whether it's sales, and we're like, how do I solve the problem? And then we ruminate with anxiety and stress, and it creates this bigger entity that just feels bigger and bigger and bigger because we're focused on solving a problem. And this insight from Tony was you change that question from how do I solve the problem to how do I provide more value? How do I provide more value in my relationship? How to provide more value to my customers? How to provide more value in my business? And by naturally focusing on value addition, it tends to naturally solve the problem.
Yeah.
By itself, because
Smart.
You're just focused on value. So when you say like, how would I provide value? How to provide value? That's the total alignment with value of my values of just like focusing on value creation. And when you focus on value creation over a long period of time, I mean, look at the results that you're able to produce.
Yep.
Yeah. And so you're bringing all these insights into you're working out with Casey, right? What are some of the projects that that you worked on that you feel proud of?
I mean, with sales, compensation drives everything.
Yeah.
So I think how we have crafted the pay scales over the years.
They've changed a lot.
They have, and people who aren't there anymore laugh because they're like, I don't even understand them.
Yeah.
But to align, again, the three interests like I've talked about is can you align the interests with the customer, the company, and the sales rep? And when the rep brings more value to Vivint, they're compensated equally for that. And you want to build a pay scale to where you're like, if he breaks the pay scale, the company's stoked. And they're like, I want to build a pay scale and an incentive structure that has no cap on it.
Yeah.
And you're happy if they go max it out because the company made a bunch of money as well. And the rep's happy and you're doing right by the customer. And so if you can do those three things, and so I think that's one thing over the years is we've really like honed in like how to compensate the sales reps to drive those two things correctly. Now there's a level of complexity that comes when you try and like do that. And now Vivint's so different. We're selling cameras and warranty plans, and you're in every different state, and we've got promotions and custom buyouts, all that. You have to juggle with that. Being able to juggle that complexity and drive the right things is important.
Yeah.
And Vivint,
difficult.
And very difficult. And we've, weathered a lot over the years, and Vivint has had different challenges. Like it's not been a smooth road. You can look back in the rearview mirror like, the last 10 years has been super easy. It's not. It's been really hard, but we've stuck with it. But we had a point where like, oh crap, are we generating value as an organization? Like we were burning cash. We thought because we had consumer finance, we're generating all this cash, we were good. But we had this point where like, we got to shift the business model a little bit. And we went from looking at the lifetime of a customer generating a couple $100 to the last few years, we've changed that to generating, $1,200 per customer of lifetime value. So we went from 200 to 1,200.
Wow.
And we did that in a way that the reps didn't feel like we just stole it from their pocket. And that's the challenge is the moment reps feel like that, the bad things happen. Now I can't say over the last 10 years, every rep's like, oh, Josh, you just gave me pay raises every day. No,
Sure.
But we worked tirelessly to make sure we aligned those interests where the rep, if you do what we're asking, you're going to be compensated for it handsomely. And the company's benefited, and we've been able to change our business model. And now we just came off our best year in the history of Vivint. We grew 30%, did over 200,000 new subscribers.
This year.
Yeah.
Come on.
Over 200,000. We did 205,000 actually, but
wow.
but had a massive growth, and every group grew. And so we've just built this momentum, and it's super rewarding to see all the tireless hard work we've done over the years to have it pay off now.
Yeah, and talk about that too, because it seems like it's been this never-ending adjustment, right? You're like trying to you move one lever here, and then this lever falls, and you got to change this lever, then this lever changes, right? And so do you feel like you've kind of found the sweet spot, or is this like a continuous adjustment?
That's business. It's like, if you expect that what was true a year ago is going to be true tomorrow, you're screwed. And if you're not adapting, evolving, or innovating, you're dying. And so we've had to do that. And every year there's a new challenge. There is, whatever it may be, different industry is a threat, or internally we have some new challenge, whether it's cash or we get acquired by a big company out of Texas. Like, that was really hard for us to navigate. And we've navigated it, I think, really well.
Yeah, talk about the NRG transaction. That was 2022.
Yeah, we're almost 4 years into that now.
Yeah.
And it's been a wild ride.
Yeah.
You talk about things that we're proud of. I think, I've played a role in how we navigate that. And a lot of acquisitions fail and mergers fail because you have culture clashes and they don't know how to navigate that. And so there's a lot of people who have had their hands in navigating that well. And I've always said it goes back to like the roots of actually with Todd Peterson, what he built. It's incredible that Todd built this company that survived everything that has gone through, and not just survived, thrived. Every time I talk to Todd recently, he's just like, man, I feel like a proud grandpa. Yeah. He's like, you guys are just crushing it. But I'm like, Todd, you built like a company that lasted. Yeah. And the foundation and roots that Todd built, and all those have worked at Vivint over the 2 decades we've been in business, 2+ decades, had a role in that foundation that built a company that's not just survives, but thrives. But it was really scary to have a big company that's totally different than us.
Right. Energy, Vivint feel like they're two different universes.
Yeah. And when we first got acquired, I was like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Who is this? And I remember Bywater calling me like, this is happening. And he's like, I knew this was going to happen. I'm like, I'm still confused. Who are they? Yeah. Who's our daddy? But we've been able to navigate that. And they have been very good at like letting Vivint stay where we are. And I feel like there's always culture things that happen. And we'll still hear it. We're like, oh, NRG said this, or we think this. You have to acknowledge that what their paradigm is, and you have to kind of see the world from their lens to be able to understand how to work with them. And same thing, like there's a lot of empathy that has gone both ways to navigate it, but it's been quite the ride. Like when they acquired us, our stock was $30 and the market hated the acquisition. There were articles that said it was the worst acquisition in the history of energy. There was an activist investor that came in, forced to fire the CEO. Over and over again, investors said, sell Vivint, spin them out. And there were a lot of people on the NRG side that stayed true to it and held on to us. And we have just proven everybody wrong. They said Vivint was going to suck the company dry of cash. We were a compliance risk. We were a liability is what they thought. And we have literally everything investors thought was going to be about Vivint. We've proven them wrong. We beat expectations. We're growing the company. The Salesforce is cleaned up. We don't have the compliance issues of old that we've been plagued with. We've had some bad, black eyes, and we've cleaned that up, and the company's ridden with us. And not to say that we're going to face challenges next year. Sure. Like 100%. And kind of over the last 10 years, I've learned and kind of become resilient to like, nothing is scary. Like there's literally nothing that can happen. And it's like, it's going to be challenging, but I know we have the resilience to go through it because I'm like, we've done worse. Do you remember when we just started doing consumer financing and we're like, hey, no longer can you sell it as free. You have to sell a loan. Yep. That was terrifying.
That was for a lot of people. I remember people were freaking out. I remember I went and sold like 9 my first week and I was the number 1 rep.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah, you were one of the guys that piloted that.
I piloted out for us for the group. And I remember my training video on how to do it.
Yeah.
Went super viral. But I remember I went out and I struggled with it, with the change. And again, I did 9 in a week, which isn't, which is good but not for my standard. And I remember I'm like, I was the number 1 rep with 9. Like, what is going on?
But that was scary and we navigated it. We've had, again, key sales leaders that built the company step away and go do other things that we were like, oh, we're going to fall apart. Yeah. And we've grown through that. Todd Peterson was the heartbeat and soul of Vivint. Yeah. Retire. And we've been able to grow through that. And again, it's the fundamentals of the company were built right, but it also gives you this resilience of like, we can navigate anything.
Yeah. Talk to a little bit more, because it seems like what I'm hearing from you, Josh, is that you've mastered navigating change.
Yeah.
Like you're really good at handling change and embracing change. And so for a lot of people, change is really scary. And a lot of times people abort mission and they freak out and they fight with it. Seems like you've really embraced it, right? So talk to us a little bit more about your mindset when change lands on your table today versus maybe it did 10 years ago.
Yeah, and I look back at like things we've navigated, and I'm like, I overreacted. Like I freaked out. I didn't need to freak out. You just have to break. I've learned so much of that, and I still will have challenges today that I have to remind myself, okay, we've handled worse. Like this is small, or because we were able to navigate this, I had no clue how we were going to do it. We figured it out. We put the right people in the room. We listened to the right people, and that's part of what we've done as well. Like making sure we keep an ear to like the pulse of our customer. And in my view, for Vivint, our customer is our sales rep. Like that is the key customer.
Totally.
Obviously, they don't pay our bills every day, but we don't get a single customer without the sales rep in their home. And so listening to the customer will always allow us to navigate through whatever challenge we're facing. And again, you got to keep in mind, it's got to be right for the sales rep. It's going to be right for the company. It's going to be right for the customer. And if you can balance those three, you have a lasting business model that will sustain whatever comes at you. And we have faced in every imaginable problem.
Yeah.
And, you hear these stories of like people saying like, oh, Tesla was on the brink of bankruptcy. I wouldn't say Vivint was, but we've had some really tough challenges. Like if we didn't navigate this right, Vivint wouldn't have lasted.
Yeah.
And then there's been, whether it was Alex Dunn or Todd Peterson or Todd Santiago or whoever it may be at the time making the decisions, we've navigated change incredibly well. And that's hard with sales. Like sales that you teach is all about routine and getting consistency. And so innately with sales, you hate change.
Yeah.
And that's always hard to show or do any change with the Salesforce. But we've had to, or else we would have died. And, there's countless competitors in our space that have not survived because they haven't figured out how to navigate change.
Yeah. I mean, so that's that quote, the only constant in business is change.
Yep.
Right. And and every time there's a big change, there's massive opportunity. Most people will fight with what's going on and fight with the change and try to change it. But there's some people who will embrace it like, hey, there's an opportunity in this. We can go learn this. We can go figure it out and we can lead it from the front and advance our position in that time. I want to go back to, you brought up Todd Peterson a lot. You brought up Alex Dunn. I'm curious, if I look back at those Vivint days, for me specifically too, there's so many guys that not only were they great leaders in the business, but they were great personal mentors too.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
This person impacted the quality of my life forever. For me, it's, Casey Baugh, Jeff Mendez, Bodie Gardner are guys that I'm like, oh, they've made a lasting impact on my life. And I'm curious who those people are for you.
Yeah, I have a long list of those. And I think it's specifically what my time at Vivint, there have been some key people that have believed in me probably more than I deserved and trusted me more than I deserved at the time. And without a doubt, Todd Peterson's like the top of the list. And, and I've had time to sit with him and be able to thank him. Like he changed my life and really kind of what he built with Vivint. And it's awesome when I tell him, talk to him, it's like his legacy is like the amount of people he's impacted. And he said there's nothing about the money, but it's the people. And really, I'm like, look how many thousands of millionaires you have created, Todd.
Yeah.
Because of this platform you built and not just money, but their lives and their family trees are changed forever. So I would be nowhere without Todd Peterson, compared to when I came to Vivint. And this ride's been way better than I ever could have imagined. Way better. I mean, I talked about working closely with Casey early on. Casey really early on, he saw something different when we worked together because we had this way of thinking creatively about a problem. So Casey definitely was a big advocate for me early in my career at Vivint. Again, probably more than I should have been, or he should have been for me. But Casey was a massive impact for me. Alex Dunn early on, he told me once, he's like, I like you because if you disagree with something, you'll tell me.
Yeah.
And he's like, if you believe in something, you fight for it.
Yeah.
And so Alex listened to me. He would actually fight with me and disagree with stuff. And I'm like, this is CEO. And sometimes people will be like, hey, that's the CEO. Don't talk, or not CEO. He was the president.
Yeah.
Careful. But I would be like, no, I'm not saying it in a disrespectful way, but I'm like, if I believe we're doing something wrong or we need to do something different, I should have the courage to fight for it and explain.
And probably he respected you for that.
He did. And so that was, Alex allowed me to have a voice that probably didn't deserve at the time. Worked closely with Dave Jones for many years. Loved Dave to death. Yeah. And had a good chemistry with Dave. So he really helped influence my opportunities at Vivint. But I mean, there's countless people I've worked with at Vivint that have had some impact in shaping me and allowing me to have opportunities.
Yeah, one thing that I find in common with all those for you, Josh, is that it's one of the key leadership principles is just leadership is a big key is just believing in someone more than they believe in themselves.
Yeah.
Right. And you had that with Todd and you had that with Casey, and that's just, I look back at my life too. That was for me, Casey too. I'm this 20-year-old kid when I meet Casey and he was just like, you can go be the top rep. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Really
that's one of Casey's superpowers.
Yeah.
He's able to help you believe in yourself, and he has no fear.
Yeah.
I also admire that at Casey. He is zero fear.
Zero fear, and he's such an incredible creative problem solver.
Yeah.
He sees
very
solutions.
high risk tolerance, and he has no fear.
Yep.
And he'll help you. He'll make you believe in anything.
Yeah.
So he's a great superpower there with Casey. In that.
Yeah. How did being in that culture with so many like inspiring entrepreneurs with, Alex and Todd and Seba and even like Santiago, like all those guys think really big. They're really aggressive. They're really expansive. They're really abundant, right? How did that change your personal and home life?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think all of that you're saying comes from Todd Peterson.
Yeah.
He said over and over again, dream bigger, think bigger. We think too small, and that is a key tenet of Vivint that he's always had with Vivint. And you've seen other leaders kind of emulate that. But yeah, Todd, and for sure, my vision's raised.
Yeah.
And you're just around a lot of people that dream big because of that. And that is contagious. Like surrounding yourself with the right people. You hear all the cliche statements around it. Like it matters.
So true.
It matters. It way more than you would imagine. And that's something you don't really realize until you look back. You're like, oh, wow, I think very different. And if you think Josh now versus Josh 10 years ago, I think differently. I see the world differently. You see problems differently. You dream bigger and different than it's not, not money, but you dream like what's possible. What could you build?
Yeah.
And it's about building something versus, anything else.
Yeah. And on that note of thinking big and dreaming big, I'm curious because you've seen a lot of people come and go at Vivint.
Yeah.
You've also seen a lot of people start as kind of a dinky sales rep and now crushing it. So I'm curious from your perspective on a sales leader and manager, because a lot of people listen to this podcast are still in door-to-door.
Yep.
Not everyone, but a lot, and they're managers and leader. What makes a great leader in today's marketplace, and what are some mistakes you see people make that actually cost them long-term growth?
To your last question, mistakes. I think the biggest mistake I see is people aren't consistent. They're very sporadic in their effort. And they have seasons of high effort and high intensity, and then they take the foot off the gas. And I think it's lack of consistency, whether it's bouncing between companies and not just staying put. Kenny Cox says all the time is the richest people are those that just stayed put at Vivint. And just you stay at Vivint, the richest people I know. And it's not necessarily just Vivint, but it's find the right platform and go all in on it and be consistent with it and apply consistent effort. Don't just be there, but you got to apply consistent effort. That's the biggest mistake I see and it's hard in door-to-door because door-to-door is built around the season of hey, we're going to go hard for summer. And then the next, 6 months or 9 months, we're going to go a little softer, or it's our off season. But so it's a little hard to what I'm saying is you got to be consistent. Every season has a different level of consistency, but your daily habits have got to align with what your long-term goals are. And so often we have these aspirations, I want to do this, or I want to build that, or I want my team to be this much, or I want to be a 400 account rep. But their daily habits don't align with those goals.
Right.
And so it really is consistency is the biggest mistake. People think there's some crazy secret.
Yeah.
There's not. You can go shadow Tristan Pears.
Yeah.
The dude is just consistent and he grinds and he works harder than anybody else.
And he just broke the all-time install record this year, right?
Yeah.
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 So he's the number one installer.
Trevor Frank held it for a long time.
Yeah.
And Tristan beat him.
Yeah.
And it was cool. We actually had an award ceremony where Trevor gave him the little award and said, hey, you're the number one all-time Vivint rep. Yeah, but there's not any crazy secret. It's not you wouldn't go shadow him or oh, wow, I'm missing that. You probably pick up some little things, but the number one thing is the dude is more consistent than anyone else and he works harder than anyone else.
On that note, what are some things you see young leaders do really well, right? What are the attributes, the mindsets of a young rep who's trying to go manage, trying to go be a regional, right? You talk about it's becoming that type of person. What are those attributes someone's got to embrace to get to the next level?
And we talked about consistency and hard work, but I think the other part relates to things we've been talking about, resilience and being adaptive and being able to learn. So a young guy comes in, if he's going to apply hard work and grit, and you have an attitude of being able to learn and be taught, because there's so many people in this industry that are going to teach you. Like you're providing so much great information and training to all these guys. And just if you're willing to be teachable and you're going to go work harder than anybody else, you'll succeed. And that's part of what I've really learned to love about direct to home is like, it is there's no one resume that makes a door-to-door guy successful. But if you will go work and you'll learn, you're going to succeed at this job.
Yeah. And humble, right?
True.
Being able to learn,
You're going to get your teeth kicked in. You're going to go have the best day of your life on the doors, and then the next day it didn't respect the prior day where you crushed it.
Yeah.
You're gonna bagel.
Like
just happens.
in my career too, like door-to-door was the hardest job I had. It's harder than starting my own business. It's just like, it's a grind and it'll stretch you and mentally, but like there's no better tuition, I think, in life than the doors. And with that being said, we both have had some really close friends who work at Vivint and then have transitioned out of Vivint. Right. And it's been painful, I'm sure from your end. And, I remember big shock when I had some close friends leave. How do you navigate those relationships? Because the industry is really competitive, right? And then there's also Vivint reps who are great at Vivint, left, and then have come back, right? Yeah. So how do you navigate when a leader might leave the company? And what's your kind of goal and intention when kind of navigating those transitions?
I mean, it's hard.
Yeah.
And every situation is different, but I think there's a couple things that are, and we talked about before, is like do my very best to never speak poorly about somebody that leaves.
Yeah.
And maintain good relationships. And people leave on bad terms and will say bad things or recruit people from us when they leave. And those are always hard to navigate. That's really hard.
Yeah.
But we've built a big business we're proud of, and, we're pretty resilient. We'll move on. And not getting too hung up on it and not having a scarcity mindset. Like the opportunity is so big. And so not having a scarcity mindset helps navigate it.
Yeah.
We'll grow and we'll recover.
Yeah. And I've seen people leave in a bad way, and this isn't just within Vivint, but just in door to door, you leave a company or whatever. And I've just never seen someone leave in a bad way have any positive gain, right? Yeah. It just creates tension and friction and, legal stuff can get involved too. But you just never know. And I've also seen people leave and didn't work out where they are, and then they have to come back. And so, my advice to managers is when they're like, hey, I just have a rep leave, how do I handle it? I'm like, hey, you help them pack. Do what you can to get them to stay. If you need to do an offer, right? But at the end of the day, if they've made their decision, my advice is always help them pack, because you don't know if they're going to come knock on your door again.
Yep.
And it's just my experience. And one thing I love about Vivint is that it's just never going away. We look back at solar of 2022, and solar 2022 was like this big explosion and everyone was leaving and people were making really good money. This year in solar, not the same thing. It's really tight and a lot of people are leaving. And as solar's kind of gone up and then down, and then, Vivint's just predictable, right? Yeah. It's a predictable machine. And so I'm curious from your perspective, and I know you're extremely biased, right?
Yes.
Extremely biased
Very
here.
biased.
But how do you kind of just view the door-to-door industry as a whole right now? There's, pest control, there's alarms, there's solar, right? Like what's kind of your like state of the union in the door-to-door space?
I mean, so I've been here at Vivint almost 10 years, and every year I've heard door-to-door's dying.
Yeah.
Whether it's from like executives at Vivint, executives at NRG, other, like not that, just but it's never been better than it. It's never better. Like when COVID happened, everybody outside of this industry thought it would die. And I had family members who were like, dude, do you have a job? And I'm like, it's never been better, actually. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's overall, yes, but it's changing. Solar is changing. There's other opportunities coming up. Vivint's getting better. I think you mentioned, like, how do we navigate when people leave? Yeah. One thing I'd say to that is I always try and look at it like, how do we learn? Like when we have a really good person leave, I try and reflect a little bit of like, it's a little bit on us. Like, what did we do wrong? Yeah, and not always is it us. Like sometimes it's just the fit. It doesn't fit, or they may have a different opportunity they need to go chase. But there's always something to learn. And we've had some key people that have left over the years that I'm like, we learned a lot and we got better. Even though it was really hard that person left. And if they called me today, I would welcome them back. Yeah. There's a long list of people. Come on back. Yeah. But and maybe we've gotten better because we had to learn.
Yeah. Like, maybe without using their names, right? But like, what are those lessons? Like when you have like a key piece leave and it's like painful, right? Like, what were those lessons for you that you had to go through?
I mean, I think sometimes it's a failure on our part to not develop that person the way they needed to.
Yeah.
And give them the opportunities to grow or help them grow. Because that's usually like when people like end up hitting their cap in door to door and they either exit, when people exit the industry, it's because they stop growing. It's a rare person that's going to go knock and sell 300 for 40 years of their career, their working career. That's pretty rare. And so when we can't get them to that next level, maybe they didn't do what they're supposed to, but often it's like we didn't do what we needed to develop them, to teach them how to manage, teach them how to recruit, teach them how to become a regional manager, because you need progression in life. And so when we lose people, it's often because we didn't help them progress the way they needed to in their career. Sometimes you got lured away to some other opportunity. And so I'd still look at that sometimes like we didn't help them understand this opportunity good enough.
Right.
If they thought that opportunity was better, rarely, if ever, do I see people leave that I'm like, oh, that's really better than what we have. It's like we didn't articulate it well enough for you. We didn't paint the vision for you. We didn't show you what you could become, because there's no one wealthier in the door-to-door industry than Neil Rogers, and he's never left. And I'm not going to say on here what the guy makes, but there's no one.
He is the goat of door-to-door.
And so if somebody's leaving Vivint because they're like, I've got a better opportunity there, I haven't shown them the opportunity to go do what Neil did.
Yeah.
Because we've crafted this whole thing that every rep who walks through the door, you could go be Neil Rogers. You could go make what Neil's making. And so if somebody's leaving and saying, I didn't help them, or we didn't help them grow, or we didn't show them the vision and they didn't believe it. And that's all of those are on us. And I think that helps you learn when somebody leaves.
Yeah. And I want to give you guys credit to that, just to acknowledge you. I've noticed that shift from the messaging at Vivint and people I work with at Vivint. I would say a couple of years ago, that might not have been there the way it is today. Right. And there are people leaving and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. And it feels like there was like this moment in, 2020, 2021, where there was like a little bit of a shift and it kind of rattled Vivint a little bit, right? You could kind of feel that Vivint's like, whoa, Vivint kind of got knocked off its center.
Yeah.
And I just want to shout out you guys. Like it feels like more than ever, like Vivint is like the powerhouse again. Like they're strong. They got great talent. You guys put on the most accounts you ever had. And the guys that I work with one-on-one that work at Vivint are like bought into the vision. They're bought into the dream. And I'm like, oh, cool. Vivint kind of found its swagger again, right? You kind of lost it there for a little bit, but to gather it again, it's just really cool and inspiring to see you guys like, learn from your mistakes, lick your wounds, be like, hey, we got to get better at this.
I genuinely, we have the best leaders in the industry, and it's not an advertisement. We just do. And it really is not me. Like, you're like, hey, congratulations. Like, I don't think I can take credit. What I think I've learned to do well the last few years is I got to get my leaders in the right position to do what they do best.
Yeah.
Like there's no one better than our leaders. And I could go through and list all of them and tell you what their superpower is and why they're better than anybody else in the industry. But putting them in their position to do what they do best and listening to them is like what we got to do more. And if I would do that even better, we would grow twice what we're growing.
Yeah. And it's a great path. Because I get people hit me up all the time because I'm completely unbiased in the industry because I work with Pest Solar, everything. And people are like, hey, why should I go work at Vivint? And from my perspective, it's like, you're going to get the best systems, right? You're going to get the best resources. You're going to have Street Genie, right? You're going to have it all. You're going to have your pay's going to be really good and clear. You're going to get paid exactly what you're supposed to get paid. And you're going to have consistent pay and you're going to have great leadership, right? So if you're looking for something really stable, really consistent with massive opportunity growth that's low risk, Vivint's for you. And you guys have done a really good job of that. And a lot of people in the door-to-door space don't realize how strong the structure is there and how strong the foundation is there, because it's 30 years foundation versus, my buddy's doing a solar dealer. I'm like, bro, careful.
You're reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
And it really is, again, that's why I can't take credit for them. I didn't make up the cup.
Yeah.
I didn't make up how we, go out and deploy teams. We just have been refining it every single year and not being satisfied with the successes of yesterday, but it's like, we can get better. But it's like, we have a foundation. Like, you don't need to reinvent the wheel every year. We need to tweak it every year. Like, we need to refine it. We need to adapt. Like we talked about change. We have to adapt, and we have every year. But we've built that foundation. We've refined it for 30 years.
Yeah. And on that note, as you kind of refine, what's getting you really excited for 2026?
What I'm just quick is we just had our best year ever.
Yeah.
Over 200,000 accounts. Almost every leader grew, and I still think there's 15 things we did mediocre. I think we can get better in 15 different things.
What are those things, if you don't mind sharing?
I mean, they go from the tools we put in our reps' hands. I think we have product innovations that are coming out. We constantly got to innovate there, and we have a pipeline of AI tools and for our end customer. that are coming out.
On that note, I have Vivint at my house, and I got it last year, and it's awesome. Like the product now, is never been better. It works really well. It's awesome. I love it. I mean, I look back at the stuff I was selling in 2013. I was pitching what I have now 10 years ago, but it's finally
does what you sold back in 2013.
Does what it does what I said it was going to do. But the product is like, I remember after my install, because I got like the spotlight camera, and I'm like, oh, this shit works. Like, it's sick.
But the things we're going to do with that, like, it's going to be totally different. I think we will look back in 5 years and we'll look at the Vivint system just like you are now and be like, oh, that was just a fancy remote. Yeah. Like AI will do it for them, and it will, like, it's not going to flash the light at you when you walk up because it knows you.
It knows me. Yeah.
And so we're going to, like, there's enhancements we're going to make there. So on the product side, the tools we put in our reps' hands, just like operational things. You talked about pay and transparency there. I'm like, I think we can get better there. Yeah. Like, let's make it a little bit more transparent. You know, we're constantly looking at call times and like how much time is a rep waiting, and the teams that manage calls, I'm constantly telling them, like, how do you make that phone call never happen? I don't want the rep to ever call you. Yeah. So we're constantly burning down things, and there's like lots of little things. There's not just one massive thing, like, we're going to go do this next year, but we're going to just improve every little way we can, a little scalpel here, a scalpel there.
Share more about the AI thing, because I think that's really interesting. I love AI, super fascinated with it. I think it's a brilliant tool for the human race. I don't think it's going to take us over. I think it's going to be incredible. I think it's going to change all of our lives in the best way possible, in ways we can't even imagine. I'm very pro AI, and I'm curious what, because now that my wheels are spinning, now you say things like, oh, AI integrated into the product, and potentially new products that can be added to. What's kind of boiling in the Vivint lab over there with AI?
Dude, I think, speaking of AI in sales, the one job that I think is most AI proof is sales.
Yeah, totally. Like, the face-to-face.
Face-to-face, human interaction, like, contrary to Elon, products don't sell themselves.
Yeah.
And so sales, I think that's why I love this job even more. Like, again, every year I'm doing this, I'm like, I'm more passionate about it. I've got 4 boys. They all know they will knock doors.
Yep.
Now, whether they will find a way to make it a career or not, who knows? But they know they've got a couple
do
years.
One summer at least.
I've told them 2 summers of knocking doors.
Yep.
And if at Vivint, it's going to be Vivint. But it's recession proof, like, for AI. Totally. But as far as like what we're going to do with AI, I don't know if I want to like open up a whole playbook here. But what we've done is we've taken a library of 20 years of Vivint trainings, and we put an AI bot to it, and it has now become the best AI sales person
trainer
ever.
Amazing.
And so now a rep will very shortly, in the next few weeks, be able to just chat with an AI that has watched every video you did when you were here, that Kenny Cox has filmed, that Puck's filmed, Neil's, everyone's filmed. It has watched all of those and has, curated the best way to sell, and a rep can chat with it.
And a rep can be out on the doors and be like, hey, I'm having trouble overcoming this objection.
Yep.
Boom. This is what you say.
Yep.
So cool.
Or it can role play with them.
Yeah.
And so just, if you were one-on-one, and so, I showed this to some managers and they were like, dude, you just did my job. I'm like, no, I'm going to enable your job.
Make your job better.
You got to like not have this limited scarcity mindset, or like, how are you going to use AI to enable what you do?
Yep.
And it's going to enable everything we do. And so I'm like, now as a manager, you're going to be able to train all your reps so much faster. And imagine what you'll do if you're not answering these little questions every night, and you're able to say, hey, go role play with the AI. The chatbot, or whatever we end up calling it. I don't even have a name for it.
It'd be a cool name.
You got a good name?
Yeah, we'll come up with something. The Alchemy bot.
But we got that. We got that on the product side.
So cool.
Like, really, what we want to do with AI there is, I want it to be more intelligent. I want Vivint to tell the customer what they should know. I've got 4 boys running in and out of my house. I get 80 notifications a day on my Vivint system. I don't look at them because I'm like, I don't know what's going on. There's too many. So the AI will sort those and tell me really what I need to know about my house. What's urgent, what's important, what's fun. Like, if my son was in front of the camera and did a funny thing, like, it should tell me, hey, this is a cute moment with your son. Or, cool. Hey, this person we don't recognize came to your house today while you weren't home. Like, there's that
like true
level.
Smart house.
A true smart house. I really do. Like I said, is you'll look back in 5 years, and be like, that was just a dumb remote that we sold customers. It will be a smart AI intelligence system that's going to be different than everyone else is buying.
Yeah, I think it's so awesome. And I'm just like thinking as like a young 20-year-old rep, right? And one thing that I think why Vivint is such an incredible opportunity is because you guys have an established equity plan.
Oh yeah.
right? Like you guys are trading on the stock market. It's a real stock, right? It's not this, oh, we're going to sell in 5 years. And, hopefully you guys have an equity plan that's already baked in and it's credible and it's working, right? And so I'm curious for maybe you could give a little sales pitch here, right? If I'm a young rep, I'm looking at selling, Windows or Vivint or going to my brother-in-law's solar dealer, right? What does the equity plan look like for reps, and how do you earn equity at Vivint?
Yeah. I think, Todd Peterson made equity in the door-to-door space popular.
He did. He made it a thing.
And that was admirable to Todd. Early on when he was building this company, and you don't see this in the door-to-door space, where he truly gave equity to his leaders.
Yeah.
It was not a phantom thing. It wasn't like, if we go hit these unreasonable targets, you'll get some piece of the pie. Todd was extremely generous in giving out equity, and that became a core part of how we operate.
It changed my life. That Todd doing that, literally, I look back at my life, what have been pivotal moments is when I got my 313 stock.
Yep.
That was a life-changing moment for me.
Yeah. And I think it was smart for Todd in a few ways. One, it makes sales reps loyal, but also makes the employees think like owners versus renters. And that's why I've made sure we've continued that as we've gone public. And Todd was selling this dream when we were private. And it's hard to have liquidity and what is stock and what is equity when you're private. And so they were able to help people see that vision, and it became something real. And now we have over $100 million of unvested equity with our leadership. In the last 4 years since we've gone public, over $250 million of equity with our Salesforce. This isn't like what Todd took off the table or what executives did. That's with the Salesforce. And so it's been an incredible thing of wealth building, but also it changes the mindset of our leaders. They're owners, and we want them to believe that. We want them to see what they can achieve. And so we've continued what Todd built with being very generous with equity and helping our sales leaders think like owners, feel like an owner, operate like an owner. And that's a key thing that we offer. And we were pretty transparent. We come and say, hey, you go do X number of accounts. You're going to become a shareholder, and you're going to get equity in a $35 billion company. And I think back to growing up as a kid, and my dad got stock. When he was 45, he started getting stock. And so it was just very different to now be able to give this opportunity to a 20-year-old rep. Say,
my regret
you
is
can
that
go learn this.
My regret is that I sold my shares.
Yes. You should regret that.
I do regret it. I ran the numbers maybe a year ago, and I was like, oh shit, I made
you can't
a
live in the past.
mistake,
But I'd say that's a core thing we've operated with. And then because we own the customer and we have recurring revenue, we truly have residual. And I love when I see solar companies or pest control companies offer residual. And when I talk to reps, I'm like, what did they offer you? They don't own, that customer's not paying them every month. Yeah. They don't have a residual. They build these synthetic residuals to copy what Vivint has done with residual. But that's what Todd built again, is hey, we're going to make my leaders aligned to sell good business. With customer pays us for a long time, they'll get paid for a long time.
Yeah.
And so having residual that's in a real recurring revenue stream creates passive income for our leaders. And we're able to have leaders that come on and say, they've now built their whole life around, hey, my residual pays my day-to-day expenses, my commissions pay my investments and my retirement. And it's created this wealth building engine that if somebody will come to Vivint and operate and learn from the best here, they can go create true wealth. And that's my core motivator right now. And what I do at Vivint and why I love what I do is having this platform where we hire thousands and thousands of reps every year, give them this opportunity, and they go make what they want to make of it. And it's amazing, and it's inspiring to me to be able to keep doing that and allow our people to come in and change their life.
Yeah, and I think it's so well said. And I think just the reality and the fact is that out of every door-to-door company ever, Vivint has produced more millionaires than anyone else. It's probably not even close.
Not even close.
Not even close, And I think to your point, from my perspective too, having worked in multiple different industries, door-to-door is not going away.
No.
It's only going to get better. It's only going to increase. And I think, again, we're saying that AI, people are going to be craving human interaction. People are going to crave kind of the face-to-face thing. And one thing that I think, and this is kind of going off topic a bit, one thing that I think is going to happen as I think in AI and technology and opportunity is that I think people are going to get off their phones. I think it's going to be a cool thing in the future to not be on social media, to be back and have real world dopamine, and people are going to be in their world and not scrolling all day, doom scrolling, and people are going to go out and interacting. So if you have the skills that you can learn on door-to-door of communication and hard work and overcoming objections and having these sales conversations with real human beings, it's going to put you in a completely different category. And I look at like, young kids today, and there's actually just an example I had at my brother's Thanksgiving. So my brother, they homeschool their kids, and they get max 30 minutes of TV, phone, or computer a day. And that's it. They don't do screens. And I'm over there at Thanksgiving with my nieces and nephews, and they're like totally engaged, and they're asking me questions, and they're like having normal conversations with me. And they're telling me, they're like, yeah, some of our friends like don't even know how to have conversations.
Yep.
Because they're so glued to their screens. And so I want to compound everything you just said. Yes, it's a wealth driver. Yes, as a young 20-year-old kid, learning face-to-face communication skills and hard work and overcoming objections and in someone's house selling something.
Yeah.
That's going to take you places. That's going to give you such a huge competitive advantage in the future, just because normal society isn't doing
They
this.
won't have that.
They don't have it.
And I would, for my boys, I talk about how my boys are going to go knock.
Yeah.
If they made $0 and they told me this was a free internship, I would still make them go do it.
100%.
Just to learn that skill set, because that's going to be the most valuable skill as we move into this AI age.
Yeah.
Because we are all now, because of what we have in our pockets, smarter than any human.
Ever.
Like we can. Knowledge is there at our fingertips. And so it's really like, how can you articulate that? Can you interact with people? Can you sell people? That is going to be the most valuable skill. Yeah. And so I think this is the best job, hands down, for, anyone looking for a job, whether it's whatever age, whatever skill set you got, learning, because you're going to learn the skill set, not just with the wealth you can build, but it's the skill set you're going to learn. And also you get this like empowerment of like, hey, if everything blew up today, guys that know how to do door to door are invincible. Because if you lost it all today, what would you do? You'd go knock doors, and you're confident you'd go make whatever you needed to make next year because you have that skill set.
So when I went to go launch my business 5 years ago, I'm like, I'm going to go be an entrepreneur. I'm going to go be a sales coach and a mindset coach, whatever. And I was really nervous. And I always go back to worst case scenario. I just put my Vivint badge back on and I'll go make $250K next year. Yeah. Worst case scenario.
And that is rare. Yeah. Most people are afraid of like, if I lost my job or if what I'm doing here fails, what would I do? If people who learn door to door are resilient, you now have the confidence, you can go do anything, because you're like, if it failed, I just go knock doors.
And I'm going to make the money anyway. I can go make $1,000 in 90 minutes in any neighborhood in America. Yeah. Okay, I can go do this, And it gave me that confidence to like go for it.
There's not a degree you could go get at any college that give you that level of confidence that you get when you do door to door. It's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it's exciting time, Josh, and I really appreciate you coming out, man. It's like so cool to see you just thrive in your role, and so many guys that I work with talk so highly of you, and so many of the great leaders, and it's really exciting to see what's coming up for Vivint, man. It seems like you're in a great spot. I'm excited for your future.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on, brother. Big love.
All right. Thank you.